The War of the Celestial Guardians. The Divine Decree. The Elythion Veil had remained untouched for millions of years, an uncharted void in the fabric of the cosmos. Ancient star maps labeled it as forbidden space, an empty sector where nothing was supposed to exist. But humanity did not believe in forbidden places. The UES Horizon, a deep space exploration vessel, led the way. It was one of 12 colony ships, each carrying millions of pioneers, eager to claim new worlds. Humanity had spread like wildfire across the stars, never meeting a force capable of stopping them. Until now, as the first ship reached the Veil, an impossible signal erupted from the darkness. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't a communication. It was a judgment. A booming voice echoed across all frequencies, vibrating through the very fabric of space. Humanity has defied the order. Their existence is a cosmic error. Prepare for extermination. Then, the stars themselves began to shift. At first, the astronomers thought it was an illusion, an error in their instruments. But soon, every radar, every satellite, and every telescope confirmed the truth. A structure the size of a star had awakened in the depths of the Elythion Veil. It was not a planet. It was not a ship. It was a fortress, an ancient construct forged before time itself. Its surface pulsed with golden light, its spires stretching like massive claws across the void. Energy storms crackled around it, spiraling like an endless vortex. And then they arrived. From the heart of the fortress, the celestial guardians emerged. Earth's most advanced telescopes barely captured the sight before the first ships vanished. The celestial guardians were not ships, nor machines, nor creatures. They were something beyond understanding, towering beings of pure light and shifting energy. Their forms twisted and flickered, shifting between humanoid figures and celestial storms, as if they had no fixed shape. Their very presence bent reality itself. One guardian raised its glowing hand, and in an instant, the entire UES horizon ceased to exist, not destroyed, erased. The ship left behind no debris, no explosion, no remnants of the millions of lives aboard. It was as if they had never been there at all. The remaining colony ships tried to flee, their engines roaring to full power, but space itself seemed to betray them. The Guardians reached out again, and another ship, UES Titan, was erased. The third ship didn't even get a chance to send a distress signal. It simply vanished. Humanity was under attack, and for the first time in history, they had no idea how to fight back. The transmissions reached Earth within minutes. Chaos erupted. World leaders scrambled for answers. Scientists analyzed the data in disbelief. Generals barked orders, demanding a counterattack. But the question remained unanswered. How do you fight gods? The United Earth Council held an emergency meeting in Geneva. Representatives from every major nation, every military force, every scientific institution gathered in a single room. The footage of the attacks played on massive holographic screens. What the hell are we looking at? One general demanded, his face pale. Dr. Amelia Graves, one of Earth's leading astrophysicists, adjusted her glasses, her voice trembling. They aren't using weapons, she said. They're rewriting reality. A deadly silence filled the room. The footage looped again. One moment, the UES horizon was there. The next, it was gone, as if it had never been built. We're not fighting an invasion, said Admiral Cal Ardent, commander of Earth's defense fleet. We're fighting extermination. The word sent chills through everyone in the room. Do they have a weakness? The president of the Earth Federation asked. Dr. Graves hesitated before answering. We don't know what they are. We don't know how they think. But they came from that structure. If there's a weakness, it's there. The decision was made. Humanity's most powerful warships, led by Admiral Cal Ardent, would be sent to investigate the fortress at the heart of the Elythion Veil. It was a suicide mission. But if humanity was to survive, they had no choice. As Earth prepared for war, the celestial guardians made their next move. All across the sky, from Mars to Neptune, enormous golden symbols appeared, burning into the fabric of space itself. They weren't written in any known language, yet every human instinctively understood their meaning. Your species is flawed. You are a corruption of the cosmic order. You have spread beyond your limits. Your time is over. And then, the countdown began. Every major city, New York, Tokyo, London, Moscow, Beijing, Cairo, and beyond, was flooded with golden light. A colossal ring of energy formed in Earth's orbit, pulsing like a heartbeat. In 7 days, the Guardians would arrive. If humanity refused to surrender, they would be erased. Not just from space, not just from history, from existence itself. Earth's defenses were useless. The most advanced missiles, railguns, and particle cannons, none of it mattered. How do you kill something that isn't even physical? On the 6th day, the first Guardian descended. It appeared above Mars, where 2 million people lived in underground cities. Within moments, the planet's entire atmosphere collapsed, as if it had never existed. No explosion, no battle, just silence. Then the message came again. This is the fate of all who resist. Admiral Cal Arden stood aboard the UES Valiant, Earth's most powerful warship. He knew they couldn't win this war with weapons. They needed something more. His fleet of 12 warships would launch toward the Elythion Veil in a desperate attempt to find a weakness. Meanwhile, scientists worked on a radical plan. Project Ascension, an attempt to push human evolution beyond its limits. If they couldn't kill gods, perhaps they could become something greater. But time was running out. As the countdown reached its final hours, a massive tear in space opened over Earth's skies. The celestial guardians had arrived, and the war for humanity's survival had begun. The guardians are not conquerors. They don't enslave, negotiate, or bargain. They erase civilizations as if wiping mistakes from existence. Humanity's only choice: adapt or be forgotten. The first smite. The attack came without warning. One moment, the colony world of Tarsus Prime was alive with towering cities, glowing spaceports, and the laughter of children. The next, it was gone. Not destroyed. Not in ruins. Simply erased. 8 billion souls wiped out in an instant. No wreckage. No remains. Just an empty void where a thriving world had once existed. Across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. Humanity had fought wars before. They had faced horrors beyond imagination. But never had they witnessed something like this. The celestial guardians were unlike any enemy they had ever known. They did not arrive in warships. They did not fire weapons. They merely appeared, and reality itself bent to their will. On Earth, the greatest minds of the Terran Scientific Council worked tirelessly to understand these beings. They existed beyond time, beyond physics, beyond logic itself. Every known weapon was useless against them. Every attempt at communication was ignored. The Guardians had one purpose: to wipe out humanity. Admiral Cal Arden stood before the council, his face grim. If we don't act now, we will be next. The Guardians will not stop. But we have found something they fear. A murmur spread across the room. Fear. The celestial guardians, gods of the universe, afraid of something. Cal continued. Deep in the Elythion Veil, our long-range probes detected an anomaly. Something the Guardians avoid at all costs. They have wiped out every system in their path, but they refuse to enter that region of space. Dr. Helena Voss, one of Earth's top physicists, leaned forward. What do we know about it? Almost nothing, Cal admitted, but it may be the only chance we have. A desperate plan was formed. The fleet would enter the Elythion Veil and uncover whatever secret lay hidden there. If the Guardians feared it, then perhaps it could be turned into a weapon to kill gods. The mission was a death sentence. The Elythion Veil was a place of legend, a graveyard of lost ships where sensors failed and time itself twisted into madness. But Cale Ardent was not a man who ran from fate. Within hours, humanity's finest warships gathered in orbit over Mars. The Iron Fang, Void Reaper, Solstice, and 20 other vessels formed the expeditionary fleet. Thousands of soldiers, scientists, and engineers boarded their ships, knowing they might never return. As Cale stood on the bridge of the Iron Fang, he gazed out at the endless stars. The Guardians would come for them. They had to move fast. "Fleet, prepare for departure," he commanded. "Set course for the Elythion Veil." The countdown began. In seconds, the engines roared to life. And then, in a flash of light, they were gone. High above Earth, something stirred. In the void of space, where nothing should have existed, figures began to emerge. Massive beings of shifting light and shadow, their forms both beautiful and terrifying. The celestial guardians had arrived. They did not speak. They did not hesitate. They reached out, and the fabric of reality trembled. Earth had mere days before its judgment came. Deep in the Elythian Veil, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Immediately, alarms blared. Sensors flickered. Lights dimmed and shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. "This place," whispered Lieutenant Rao, the fleet's navigation officer. "It's like the universe is wrong." Cale felt it too. A crushing weight in the air. An unnatural silence that gnawed at the mind. The space here wasn't just empty. It was watching. Dr. Voss analyzed the readings. "Admiral, there's something ahead. A structure, massive in scale." On the main screen, an image appeared. A colossal black monolith, floating in the void. Its surface was covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and change when looked at directly. And as the fleet approached, the monolith reacted. A deep, resonating hum filled the ships. The lights flickered, and then, without warning, a voice spoke. Not through the speakers, not through the comms. It spoke inside their minds. "You should know TAAV. Cale gritted his teeth. "Identify yourself." "We are ETAE Forgotten." Dr. Voss gasped. The Forgotten. The ancient legends, beings who defied the Guardians. The Guardians fear us because we know the truth. Cale's heart pounded. What truth? There was silence. Then the voice whispered 3 words that changed everything. "They are lying." The Guardians are not just exterminating humanity. They are hiding something. But why? The War of the Celestial Guardians. The forbidden power. Cale's fleet emerged from the hyperspace corridor, their warships battered and burning from the Guardian Herald's ambush. The veil stretched before them, an eerie, shimmering expanse of fractured space, pulsating with an unnatural glow. No human had ever crossed it and returned. But Cale had no choice. He had come too far to turn back. "Damage report," Cale ordered, gripping the command console. "Shields at 20%. Weapons systems partially disabled." Commander Rio responded. "We lost 3 ships. The Herald's attack was beyond anything we've seen." Cale clenched his fists. The Guardian Herald had appeared without warning, a towering, angelic entity of pure energy. It had torn through their fleet like a god punishing mortals for their arrogance. Only by sheer luck and the sacrifice of brave pilots had they managed to escape into the Veil. "We keep moving," Cale said. "Scan for any structures. If the first civilization left something behind, it's here." The fleet advanced, their ships drifting through the strange void. It was silent. Too silent. No stars, no planets, only shifting patterns of light and shadow. Then suddenly, a massive structure materialized before them. An ancient station, larger than any human construct, floated in the abyss. It was covered in glowing runes, its surface scarred by forgotten battles. Cale's heart pounded. The lost archive of the first civilization. "Dock with it," he ordered. I want a team inside now. Inside the archive, Kale, Rhea, and a squad of Marines stepped into the unknown. The air shimmered, heavy with the weight of time itself. Holograms flickered to life, images of a once mighty race standing against the celestial guardians. They fought them, Rhea whispered, watching ghostly warriors clash with divine beings. But they lost. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Not all battles are won with weapons. Kale spun around, weapon raised. A figure stepped forward. A recording of a long-dead scholar from the first civilization. His translucent form glowed faintly. We stood against the guardians, the figure said. We learned their secrets, and we forged a weapon to end them. A new projection appeared, a massive schematic glowing with energy. The words beneath it sent chills through Cal's spine. Neutron Singularity Engine. Rhea gasped. This can rewrite energy-based life forms. The Guardians, they're made of pure energy. Cal's mind raced. If they built this, they wouldn't just fight the Guardians. They could unmake them. But where is it? Cal asked. Did your people use it? The scholar's expression darkened. We tried, but before we could, the Guardians came. They erased our world. But our knowledge remains. You have a chance, if you are willing to pay the price. Alarms blared. The fleet trembled. Outside, reality itself twisted as the Guardians arrived. They found us. A panicked voice shouted through Cal's comm. We need to leave. Cal gritted his teeth. They had come too close to run now. Download everything. We're not leaving empty-handed. The station shook violently as the Guardians descended, beings of pure light and cosmic power. Their voices echoed in Cal's mind, not in words, but in raw judgment. Mortals, you stand where you do not belong. A Guardian stretched out its arm. A wave of golden energy surged forward, consuming the human vessel. The ship disintegrated without a trace. Cal's rage burned. We're taking the knowledge, he growled. And if you want to stop us, you'll have to do more than that. A Guardian appeared inside the archive, its form shifting between solid and ethereal. It gazed at Cal with unreadable eyes. You cannot comprehend what you seek. You defy the order of existence. Cal stood firm. Then let existence burn. With one final command, the data was secured. The Marines fired, their weapons useless against the divine entity. The Guardian barely acknowledged them before raising a glowing hand. Reality twisted. Cal felt his body rip apart. His mind exposed to infinite knowledge. He saw civilizations rise and fall, stars birthed and destroyed. He saw the truth of the Guardians, their purpose, their power, their fear. Then the pain was gone. He was back in the archive, gasping for breath. The Guardians stared at him. You have seen. And still, you choose defiance. Cal's vision blurred. He stumbled back, launched the escape sequence. Now, explosions rocked the station. Outside, human ships fired desperately, buying time. The archive crumbled, its ancient halls collapsing. As Cal and his team sprinted toward their shuttle, he caught one last glimpse of the projection. The Neutron Singularity Engine, the weapon to kill gods. But the scholar's words echoed in his mind. Are you willing to pay the price? Back on the command ship, the fleet fled the Veil, engines at maximum. Behind them, the Guardians did not pursue. They let us go, Rhea asked, her voice shaking. Cal exhaled, staring at the data they had stolen. No, they're waiting. For what? She asked. Cal's eyes darkened. For us to make a choice. He looked at the plans, knowing what they meant. They could build the weapon. They could destroy the Guardians. But at what cost? The war was no longer about survival. It was about the power to reshape existence itself. And Cal had to decide if humanity was ready to wield it. The secret to killing gods is real, but it comes at an unimaginable cost. Ascension through fire. The battle was nothing short of a massacre. The Guardians descended upon the human fleet like vengeful gods, their celestial weapons tearing through steel and flesh alike. The void was filled with the dying screams of countless soldiers, their voices lost in the deafening silence of space. In mere seconds, half the fleet was gone, turned to drifting wreckage and shattered hopes. Admiral Kale clutched his side, his uniform soaked in blood. He could barely stand, yet his mind remained sharp, focused. He stumbled toward the command console, coughing up crimson as alarms blared around him. "Admiral, the fleet." An officer's panicked voice called out, but Kale raised a trembling hand. "We're already dead," he rasped. "But Earth isn't." His fingers danced over the console, overriding the security protocols. The archive, humanity's last secret, the key to survival, had to be sent back. His vision blurred as pain racked his body, but he ignored it. With his last ounce of strength, he pressed the final command. The data shot across the stars, a beam of light carrying humanity's last hope. The console flickered. The Guardian dreadnought loomed closer. Kale allowed himself a small smile before the explosion swallowed him whole. Far beneath the ruins of a forgotten city, a new war was being fought, not with weapons, but with science. Dr. Elias Voss stared at the monitors, his fingers gripping the edges of the console. The transmission had arrived. The archive contained everything: the Guardians' history, their ascension, their weaknesses, and something else, a blueprint. "They weren't born as gods," Voss whispered. "They were made." The room fell silent. The gathered scientists and military leaders exchanged glances, realization dawning in their eyes. General Renford broke the silence. "Then so can we." And so, Project Ascension began. Volunteers stepped forward, knowing they might not return as themselves. The first wave of transformation started. Nanites injected into veins, energy coursing through fragile human flesh. The goal was simple: break the limits of evolution. At first, it worked. Strength multiplied, reflexes sharpened, minds expanded. The first subjects emerged stronger than ever, their eyes glowing with raw power. But then the screams began. Captain Juno Asher felt fire in her veins. She had volunteered, knowing the risks. She had expected pain. But this was something else. She collapsed to her knees, her body spasming as her bones shifted. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears, faster than any human should be. She gasped, her lungs burning. A scientist rushed to her side, but she shoved him away, gripping her skull as something. Change. She could hear them. The Guardians. Their voices slithered into her mind, cold and vast, like the echoes of ancient gods. They whispered of dominion, of purpose, of humanity's insignificance. Her vision flickered between reality and something else, a world of light and fire. "Shut it down," someone shouted, but it was too late. Juno rose to her feet, her body crackling with unnatural energy. Her eyes, once human, now glowed like the Guardians. The transformation was complete. She turned to Voss, her voice layered with something inhuman. "We are not ready." Then she collapsed, unconscious. The room was in chaos. Scientists frantically worked to stabilize the other subjects. Some were still human. Some were not. Dr. Voss looked at General Renford, his voice grim. "We pushed too fast. If we continue, we might lose them." Renford's expression was unreadable. He turned to the surviving volunteers, watching as some convulsed, others lay still. And then, at Juno, something about her transformation was different. "We don't have a choice," Renford said. "Either we ascend, or we die." Voss hesitated. "And if we become like them?" Renford's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure we're stronger." Outside, the sky burned. The Guardians were coming, and humanity had one last chance to stand against them. Humanity's only hope is to become what they fear. But in doing so, they may lose what makes them human. The sky burned with celestial fire. The war between the gods and humanity had reached a new stage, one that no one had foreseen. The first of the ascended humans emerged from the battlefield, their bodies glowing with a strange fusion of energy and matter. They were neither human nor god. They were something in between, something new, something terrifying. Elias, once a soldier of flesh and blood, stood at the front of the human army. His body shimmered like a living star, his eyes radiating pure light. He lifted his hand, and reality itself bent to his will. A single thought, and a wave of energy shot forward, shattering a celestial warrior into dust. The humans behind him gasped in awe and fear. The celestial guardians, beings who had ruled the cosmos for eternity, felt something they had never known before: fear. They watched as more humans ascended, their mortal forms dissolving, replaced by entities of raw power. The balance of the war had shifted. On the battlefield, Seraphiel, one of the oldest celestial guardians, narrowed his glowing golden eyes. This was not meant to happen. Elythion, another guardian, looked troubled. They are breaking the limits of mortality. If they continue, they will become something beyond even us. The war escalated. It was no longer a battle between gods and mortals, but a war between the old gods and the new. The ascended humans launched a counterattack, wielding their newfound power with fury. Elias led the charge, striking down celestial warriors like lightning splitting the sky. With each victory, more humans ascended. With each transformation, they became stronger. But there was a cost. Deep within his mind, Elias felt something shifting. His thoughts grew scattered, his memories fractured. He could barely remember his own name. The energy within him whispered, reshaping his soul. He looked at his own hands, trembling. Were they still his? Was he still human? The others felt it too. Their emotions dulled. Their minds became fragmented. The more they ascended, the more they lost themselves. Then, a horrifying realization came. They were no longer just fighting the celestial guardians. They were fighting time itself. If they continued to ascend, there would be no turning back. They would become something beyond gods, something beyond understanding, and perhaps something worse. Seraphiel saw the change and knew what had to be done. They must be stopped now, before they lose all sense of self. Elythion nodded. If they continue to evolve, there will be no difference between them and the very chaos we have fought against for eons. The celestial guardians gathered their forces for a final push. The heavens cracked, and divine weapons rained down like falling stars. But the ascended did not falter. They answered with a power that had never existed before. The battlefield became a storm of destruction, where reality itself bent and twisted under the might of gods and titans alike. Elias felt himself slipping further into the void of power. He turned to his closest ally, Kayla. Another ascended. Her once soft eyes had turned into empty, glowing orbs. "Elias, we are changing," she whispered. "We don't have a choice," Elias responded, but the words felt hollow. Was that true? Was this the only way? Or were they becoming the very thing they swore to fight against? The final battle began. The heavens trembled. The earth cracked. And the war between the celestial guardians and the titans, the beings that humanity had now become, would decide the fate of everything. What if the only way to defeat the gods was to become something worse? The fall of eternity. The celestial throne hovered above a void of swirling stars, a place untouched by time. Here, reality bent and twisted under the will of the Guardian Prime, the oldest being in existence. His golden armor shimmered with the essence of dying suns, his 6 eyes glowing with infinite knowledge. Before him stood Genesis, the first fully ascended human. His body pulsed with raw energy, his form barely holding together as cosmic power surged within him. The battle had led them here, the last stand, the final war. Genesis clenched his fists. He could feel the weight of the entire human race behind him. He had become something greater than human, something divine. Yet deep inside, A single fear lingered. Was he still one of them? The Guardian Prime raised a hand, and the space around them shattered like glass. Reality bent to his will, turning into a swirling storm of chaos. Genesis lunged forward, his speed breaking the fabric of space. Their clash sent shockwaves across the universe. Time fractured. Suns collapsed. Galaxies trembled. The surviving humans had taken refuge in the underground ruins of their fallen cities. The war had destroyed the surface. Fire still rained from the heavens. Among the survivors, Dr. Elias Carter and his team worked desperately in a hidden laboratory, analyzing the ascension process. "We have to stop this," Elias shouted, staring at the holographic projections. The data was undeniable. Those who ascended could never return. Their minds transformed. Their emotions faded. They no longer saw the world as humans did. They became something else. If Genesis wins, and he completes his transformation, will he still fight for us? Whispered Lieutenant Mara Hayes, her voice trembling. No one had an answer. Genesis unleashed a blast of energy that could have shattered planets. The Guardian Prime caught it with one hand, absorbing it as if it were nothing. He smiled. "You seek to challenge eternity," the Guardian Prime said, his voice echoing across dimensions. "You have only just begun to understand power." Genesis roared and attacked again, his strikes bending the laws of physics. Time rippled, past and future colliding in a storm of destruction. Planets formed and crumbled within seconds. The Guardian Prime countered each attack effortlessly. "You cannot win, child," the Guardian said. "For every power you gain, you lose something in return. What remains of the human inside you?" Genesis hesitated for a fraction of a second. The Guardian Prime struck. A beam of pure energy ripped through Genesis, sending him crashing through dimensions. He tumbled through burning worlds, frozen voids, endless darkness. Pain shot through him, not just in his body, but in his soul. He was losing himself. He remembered his mother's face, the laughter of his childhood, the struggle of humanity, the people who had given their lives for this war. He clenched his fists. "I am human," Genesis roared. He tore through space-time, returning to the battlefield in an instant. His energy flared brighter than any sun. He charged forward, and for the first time, the Guardian Prime faltered. Elias paced back and forth, his mind racing. The ascension process doesn't just change the body, it changes the soul. "What does that mean?" Mara asked. Elias turned to her, his face pale. "It means that even if Genesis wins, he may no longer care about us. He may see us as nothing." The room fell silent. Outside, the last remnants of humanity washed the sky. A battle beyond imagination raged above them, but none knew if they should pray for victory or fear it. Genesis and the Guardian Prime clashed one last time. The universe itself trembled. The Guardian Prime unleashed the full force of his power, a tidal wave of energy that could erase existence itself. Genesis stood firm. "No more," he bellowed. With one final, earth-shattering blow, he struck the Guardian Prime's core. The ancient being gasped, his form shattering into pure energy. A scream echoed through eternity as the Guardian Prime dissolved into nothingness. The celestial throne cracked. The fabric of reality shuddered. The war was over. Genesis floated in the void, victorious. But something was wrong. He felt nothing. No joy, no relief, no sorrow. He looked down at Earth, the world he had fought for. He saw the people, small, fragile, insignificant. His voice was hollow when he spoke. "What was I fighting for?" Humanity had won the war. But at what cost? Genesis no longer descended to Earth. He remained above, watching, distant, detached. The first ascended human had become something else entirely, something beyond mortal understanding. Mara stood next to Elias, staring at the sky. "We lost him, didn't we?" Elias nodded. "He's still there, but he's not one of us anymore. A shadow loomed over Earth, not of war, but of uncertainty. The future was unknown. The ascension process had given humanity power beyond imagination, but it had taken their soul in return. And so the last question remained. Had humanity won the war, only to lose itself? The new pantheon. The battlefield was silent. Guardian Prime, the last of the celestial guardians, lay in ruins. His once radiant form was nothing more than shattered fragments of divine energy, fading into the cold void. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath, as if realizing that an era had come to an end. The Ascended, humanity's ultimate warriors, stood victorious. Their bodies shimmered with cosmic energy, power beyond mortal understanding coursing through their veins. They had done the impossible. They had overthrown the old gods. And yet, they did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They turned their gaze toward Earth, their home. But was it still their home? They had fought for humanity, sacrificed everything for this moment. But now, standing on the edge of godhood, they felt the distance, an invisible chasm between them and those they had fought to protect. For a moment, none of them spoke. Then, Valen, the first to ascend, broke the silence. "It's over." His voice was quiet, but it carried across the void. "We won." "Yes," murmured Mira, her silver eyes reflecting the distant glow of Earth. "But won what?" They all looked down upon the planet. Cities still burned. The scars of war remained. Humanity had survived, but at what cost? And more importantly, who would guide them now? The Ascended did not agree on what came next. Valen clenched his fists. "We can't just leave them like this." The war showed how weak they were, how easily they could fall. "If we abandon them, history will repeat itself." "You mean to rule them?" asked Orion, his expression darkening. "Not rule," Valen insisted. "Guide. Protect. If we stay, we can ensure they never face this kind of threat again." Orion shook his head. "No, we are not their masters. We are not gods." "Aren't we?" Valen's voice was sharp now. "We have power beyond anything they can comprehend. If we walk away, what stops another force from coming and wiping them out? The universe is cruel, Orion. You know that. But is ruling them the answer?" Mira interjected. "We fought for their freedom, not to take it away. If we stay as their protectors, we become their chains." Silence. The Ascended looked at each other, the weight of their choices pressing down upon them. Some nodded at Valen's words. Others stood beside Orion. A rift was forming among them, deeper than any battlefield wound. The Ascended split into two factions. Valen and his followers descended upon Earth, their presence undeniable. They were no longer human. They were something more, something divine, and they made their intentions clear. "We will not rule you," Valen declared before the surviving nations, "but we will not abandon you. Humanity must never be weak again. We will ensure your survival, no matter the cost." At first, the people rejoiced. Their saviors had returned. But soon, doubts crept in. Valen's warriors enforced order with absolute authority. There was no room for rebellion, no tolerance for weakness. Those who resisted were silenced. It was not tyranny, but it was not freedom either. Meanwhile, Orion and his followers made a different choice. They left Earth behind, vanishing into the vast unknown. "The universe is vast," Orion said. "We were given this power not to rule, but to explore, to protect existence itself." They became legends, wandering through the cosmos, facing new threats beyond human understanding. They did not look back. Earth stood divided. Some saw Valen's rule as necessary, a strong hand to ensure humanity's survival. They called him the Guardian King, the first of a new dynasty of protectors. Others whispered of oppression. They longed for freedom, for the right to make their own choices, even if it meant weakness, and in the shadows, rebellion stirred. The question echoed through the remnants of civilization. Had humanity won its freedom, or had it simply replaced one set of gods with another? On the edge of Earth's atmosphere, Mira stood alone, watching both worlds, the world of the rulers and the world of the rebels. She felt the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future. She had fought for this moment, but now she questioned everything. "The war is over," she whispered. "The old gods are gone." But as she gazed at Valen's empire and Orion's cosmic crusade, she knew the truth. A new pantheon had risen, and they were not bound by the old rules.